Hi, and welcome to Off Chain with Jimmy Song. I am your host, Jimmy Song, and today I don't have a guest. So I am going to just sort of talk and answer some questions that you might have, and talk about whatever it is that's on your mind. Let's take a look at a few other things. Let's take a look at xbt.eu. There's a lot of miners mining over 1 megabyte blocks, as you can see here. We also have something interesting going on from BW Pool, as they're not adding the witness commitment. And the witness commitment in this context means, as part of Segway, if you have Segway transactions, then you need to have a commitment in the Coinbase that corresponds to basically the Merkle root of all the transactions. This was brought up by Greg Maxwell during the ASIC boost controversy as a possible reason why Bitmain would not be supporting Segway. But it is not Bitmain, it's BW Pool. I am going to guess, they've done this multiple times now. So I mean, Segwit is a soft fork, so there is no obligation to upgrade. So this is something that they're doing because they don't have to, and that's something to keep in mind, and that's entirely their right to do. Anyway, yeah, let's take a look at some other stuff. We can take a look at CoinDance. Right now, Bitcoin Cash is about 7.3% less profitable to mine than the original chain, and that's not including stuff like transaction fees, as far as I know. And there are a lot of blocks being mined, which is very strange, right? If you are economically incentivized to mine, why would you economically hurt yourself by mining Bitcoin Cash when you could be mining Bitcoin? And that's sort of a mystery. I did put forward some theories. It's possible that there are people that are buying the Bitcoins that are mined on Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash tokens, and they're using a particular way of buying them so that the miners make more of a profit. Anyway, yeah, let's go to some of your questions. I did receive quite a few questions on Twitter, so let's take a look at some of them. Let's see. Oh, I should stop screen sharing so I'm not. Oh gosh, how do I do this? Stop. All right, so now you can see my face. Anyway, let's take a look at some of the questions that I received on Twitter, and there were a few at least, and then we can go to the questions in the chat. All right, Mike in Space asks, "Are you okay?" And this is in reference to the Bitcoin car talk video. I thought it was pretty funny, and yeah, always a good laugh. Take a look at it if you haven't. What about the future of Litecoin? I am not sure. Certainly the fact that both chains have Lightning now, or will soon, will allow cross-chain atomic swaps. So what you may end up seeing is that Litecoin may become sort of a transaction coin that sort of works on top of Bitcoin, and that would be certainly a very interesting thing to see if you have people just transferring their Bitcoins to Litecoin and then paying somebody and then back. But then again, you already have a Lightning network, so you could pay them directly using Lightning. But supposing that whoever the receiving party isn't on the Lightning network that you're on, or if there's some other reason, that may be another thing. Also, having a Lightning network channel that's cross-chain, it does sort of preserve some privacy aspects, right? Unless somebody knows about that actual Lightning network transaction. And that may indeed be something that you can use to enhance your privacy at least a little bit. All right, let's see here. Double Rup asks, what did you do before WCN? What are you working on as a Bitcoin dev? Well, so what did I do before WCN? Well, I've been in the Bitcoin space for about 4 years now. I started out on Colored Coins. It's a project that that brought me into Bitcoin as a developer. I was in Bitcoin like a couple years before that. So, you know, I was doing a lot of different things. I've been principal architect at Paxos for a while, but before that, I was VP of engineering at Armory. And before that, I was a senior developer at Monetize. So all those companies are, you know, at least were doing Bitcoin projects at the time I worked for them. But yeah, what am I working on as a Bitcoin dev? Well, right now I'm focused on teaching. So I just finished the programming blockchain seminar in Austin. I had very limited seating. I couldn't get a very big conference room, so I had to sort of limit it. But yeah, I got some good feedback from the people. I really enjoyed teaching those people, and I got a lot of different things that I'm going to need to change for the LA one, and I really look forward to it. If you are interested in learning more about Bitcoin, check out programmingblockchain.com. Here is an example of the cheat sheet that I made that, you know, that a lot of people, the people at the seminar got, and these are just sort of like understanding various parts of Bitcoin, sort of condensed down. You know, just like the block format, transaction format, like elliptic curve, group law, things like that. So there was quite a lot of material there, and I've been told that it was exhausting mentally. After the first night, I was also mentally exhausted, fell asleep like a baby. A lot of other people reported the same thing. So, you know, that was very interesting. All right, so yeah, I got a question in Chinese. Yeah, I don't understand what that says. It says China understands it. I have no idea. All right, so let's move on to some other questions. I had another. Yeah, the reason by the way, that I haven't been tweeting the last few days very often is because I've been teaching this class, and it's gone from like 9 to 5, and you know, there's so much material, and I feel a little bad that I didn't even get to cover all of it in depth the way I like it to, but that's part of the deal. All right, let's take a look here. Can you define the marginal differences between Litecoin and Bitcoin and explain atomic swaps, please? Keep it short. Yeah, great question. Atomic swaps are a way of sort of swapping things. Okay, so I have some Bitcoin, you have some Litecoin, and you want to send me your Litecoin for Bitcoin, and I want to send you Bitcoin for Litecoin. And the thing is, an atomic swap is one where either both go through or neither go through. And you know, that way it removes any sort of custodial risk. If you sent me the Litecoin first, then you're risking me not sending me the Bitcoin, sending you the Bitcoin, and that would present sort of you know, transaction risk. If you'd have to trust me in order to do that. Similar for me, if I sent you the Bitcoin first, then I'd have to trust that you'd send the Litecoin. Having an atomic swap sort of removes that trust element. It either both goes through. You know, you get the Bitcoin the same time I get the Litecoin, or it doesn't go through at all, which is ideal. And atomic swaps are a key thing, and you know, obviously makes it a lot better for everybody. And what Lightning Network does is, because of its sort of the way that it works, there's a Lightning channel for Litecoin and a Lightning channel for Bitcoin, and you can sort of make it so that it only goes over, the Bitcoin only goes over to your Bitcoin Lightning channel if the Litecoin comes over to my Lightning network channel. So it's kind of it's a real cool innovation. People sort of jokingly call it like the thing that will put Shapeshift out of business. And if every altcoin had some form of the Lightning Network, that would indeed be true. All right, so let's take a look at this other question, Philippe. What steps will have to be taken before we see atomic cross-chain swaps between Litecoin and Bitcoin? Great question. I believe most of the pieces are there now. It's just a matter of software upgrading and everything else. Right now, I believe Bitcoin has sort of a Lightning Network channel limit, at least the one that LND has that. You don't want to put too much money yet because we don't really know, the security properties and everything else. You do have to keep your private key online and things like that. So it's recommended that, you let the space mature a little bit, let more software come in, and, figure out some of the best practices. Like, any innovation, you sort of need to wait and see how it's going to play out. And sometimes it plays out really well and you needn't have worried, but sometimes, there are weird things that you need to worry about. And the fact that you are careful actually pays off. So yeah, I think most of the pieces are there though. Any plans on bringing your programming seminar to Toronto? Thanks and keep up the good work. Well, thank you, Philip. I would like to do it in Canada at some point, probably not in the winter. But yeah, that's something that I would like to do. First, I think I need to go to Asia and do it there, probably in Korea. And I think there are some developers in Europe that definitely need to, that would like me to come. So I'm going to try to have a programming blockchain seminar there, and possibly in a couple cities. And then when I come back to the States, I'll probably have someone, at least somewhere in the US or Canada. I'll see what it looks like to do it in Canada and if it's possible. Yeah, I mean, if you want to help me, please email me, jimmy@programmingblockchain.com. All right. Do you have any doubts that the unknown miner of BCH is Bitmain? What are the odds of it collapsing once the Coinbase holders can sell? This is Ty Danko, VC that I know from Boston. So thank you for the question. We don't know who the unknown miner is. There are rumors that it is Bitmain, and they are trying to keep up Bitcoin Cash so they have more choice, I guess. I really have no idea. The fact of the matter is Coinbase signaling of who you are is not required at all. And if you wanted to, you can fake being somebody else. So Antminer could, Antpool can say, I am Slush, and it would be perfectly legal from a blockchain perspective. The fact that it's unknown, I don't know if that really means anything. It's mining pools want to advertise that they're getting blocked so that they look luckier. But with BCH, I think there are enough social consequences to being known to mine Bitcoin Cash that maybe a lot of these miners are hiding it. And we don't know that it's a single miner that's doing all of that has all of that hash power that's in the unknown part. It could be 2 or 3 miners. It could be a single miner. It could be, 100. We just don't know. And that's one of those things where unless, you provide signatures or something like that, there's no real way to know. And no one's signing anything. So, yeah, it's all sort of taken with a grain of salt. All right. Nishiko asks, okay, so I don't, that's not a question. So let's see. Oh, do you see the long-term value proposition of Bitcoin being a store of value, or will it become a widely used payment channel, or both? Well, I think it's fairly clear that Bitcoin is a fantastic store of value. There's never been any asset like this, in the sense that it's entirely digital. You could back it up, and you don't have to spend lots of money guarding it or protecting it or anything like that. It's a bearer instrument, so no one can really take it away from you without your consent to some degree. And that in that way, store of value, it's just a fantastic store of value. Payment channel, that's still yet to be seen. I mean, it's still much easier to buy a computer with a credit card on Dell.com than to use Bitcoin to buy it or something like that. Same with Expedia, same with all these places. It's funny. I was talking to some of my students earlier today, and we were talking about some of the biggest regrets we had in Bitcoin, and a large part of it is just buying stuff with Bitcoin and not replacing it. And if you are replacing it, by the way, if you're buying something on Dell, for example, and then for $500 worth of Bitcoin, and then you just buy $500 in Coinbase, what you've just done is buy it in cash, right? Like you haven't changed your Bitcoin balance. You're just spending cash in this ridiculous way, and you're not getting any of the credit card protections or whatever. So I guess you're sort of trying to reward the merchant for taking Bitcoin, but really it's not really to your advantage, right? Like all you're doing is just like buying this Dell computer for $500, just utilizing Bitcoin as like the passageway. But that's not the same thing as really utilizing Bitcoin. And a lot of people do that, but it seems a little bit silly to me to claim that that's like a major function of Bitcoin if you're replacing it at the end, because then you might as well just use cash. But with Lightning and payment channels and all this other stuff, it is possible that Bitcoin becomes a very quick medium of exchange, and that may be something that's in the future of Bitcoin. I think it remains to be seen, and that use case, at least sort of outside of the dark markets where you can't use credit cards or any of this other stuff, and you can't meet people with cash or something like that. That sort of remains to be seen, and we'll see. We'll be watching closely to see what's going to happen there. All right, JD Constantine asks, any risk to keeping on paper wallet my old BTC, or should I transfer everything into Segway format on paper? I mean, there's no risk in keeping your paper wallet. It's safe as it was before. It's not like there was some urgent need to put it on Segway in order to secure your Bitcoins in a better way or something like that. I mean, Segway does introduce a few nice security things in the sense that it can't your transactions won't be malleated if you're opening a payment channel for Lightning Network or something like that. So there are some things, but I mean, the purpose of a paper wallet is usually just to keep it as a store of value. And if that's the case, then just keep it in your paper wallet. You should be okay. The reasons to take it out of a paper wallet would be mostly based on whether you want to take out some Bitcoin Cash or something like that, or if you were doing some sort of like airdrop for some altcoin or something, that might be a reason to do so. All right, let's see. Another question here. Can you discuss the risks involved in selling BCH while holding BTC? How does one protect the private key once it's revealed on one side? Well, you're not actually revealing the private key when you sell. What you do reveal is the public key. An address is just a hash of the public key. And when you spend, you have to reveal your public key and a signature. And one of the things that why developers tell you to not reuse addresses is because once the public key is revealed, the only thing you're protected by is the fact that the elliptic curve cryptography discrete log problem is very hard. With addresses, you're also protected by the difficulty of finding the pre-image of a hash. So, and it's two different hash functions, right? It's SHA-256 and RIPE-MD-160. So you're protected really by three things, and two of those protections sort of are removed when you spend and reuse an address. And that's sort of the case with Bitcoin Cash as well, because they're using the same sort of key because they just gave it to all the holders. So what you're really doing is you are revealing your public key. The bigger risk is not necessarily like you lose your funds. I don't think the discrete log problem is getting cracked anytime soon. The bigger risk is actually in terms of privacy, because now there are two chains where blockchain forensic analysis can happen. You can look on Bitcoin Cash and you can look on Bitcoin, and you can sort of like cross them and figure out. You have like a lot more data points to figure out who it was that spent that coin. And like if you make a purchase using Bitcoin Cash, say, then the party that received it might know your Bitcoin balance because they can trace back and go forward. And you may need to do some tumble bid or join market or something like that in order to hide your Bitcoins again, or send it to an exchange and back or something. There are many ways to sort of launder your coins in a sense, but it can be kind of. But the main drawback is actually on privacy. All right, Bitcoin Gold. I have a question about Bitcoin Gold. Only GPU miners can mine it. What are your thoughts on Bitcoin Gold? I think this is sort of the future of altcoins or ICOs or whatever. I mean, like 3 years ago, it was all these altcoins that kept coming out like every week. Right now it's like ICOs. I think going forward, it's going to be like hard forks of Bitcoin. You have a fair distribution mechanism. It's cloning mostly the most secure cryptocurrency in the world, and that is Bitcoin. There's a lot of ways in which you can take advantage of that going forward. So, what do I think of Bitcoin Gold? I think they're trying to take advantage of the fact that there's this sort of hard fork way of creating a new coin. But am I excited about it? They're supposedly changing the proof of work so that only GPU miners can mine it. I don't know if that's necessarily going to change things too much. There are lots of altcoins that have tried different proof of work functions, and they're supposedly ASIC resistant or GPU only. But if it gets popular enough, anything can get an ASIC. I think it's very, very difficult to prevent that. When you go to a GPU, the person with an ASIC has like orders of magnitude more hash power than you, and that means that you're vulnerable to that attack if somebody were to go and manufacture it. So I'm not sure. It's something that people are excited about, I guess, but that's something that I personally am not that interested in. All right, I lots of questions in chat. I'm just seeing that. I'm sorry that I didn't get to them. So get to some of them, but let me take a look at some of these. Jimmy, can you explain what happens to Bitcoin once 21 million coins mined is reached? How do transactions flow after it's all gone? Will miners stay on it if fees don't make them profit? Well, after all 21 million coins are gone, I think that's like in year 2140 or something like that. So it's a while off. I mean, I think most of us plan to live for a while, but that's kind of a stretch. But say you get to that point. At that point, fees are a large part of it, and this is one of the arguments for a healthy fee market, is that you need an incentive for miners to mine, and if there are enough fees, then they will mine. If it's not profitable, then they won't mine the block. That's it. That's pretty much what will happen. What do you think will play out after all the Bitcoin is mined? Yeah, it'll just be a fee market. There will be, like every Bitcoin transaction will have to have fees, and only the ones that the miners that make it profitable for miners will be mined. Let's see. Let's see if there are other questions. All right. Is the upcoming friendly fork Bitcoin Gold seems to be more decentralized? Oh, it's the same guy. Okay. So I already talked about that. So let's not talk about that any more than we have to. If I install the Bitcoin wallet on a mobile phone with balance, not spending them, will the always online nature expose the fact that I have Bitcoin? That's an interesting question. If you have a mobile phone, generally it depends on what that application does. If it's constantly sort of looking to monitor your Bitcoin balance, and sort of connect it to some sort of full node and getting that, then it may in fact expose that. But if it's not syncing very often, then maybe not. But there is data coming back and forth most likely, because most light wallets have to communicate with a full node to know the state that they are in. So say you receive like $50 in Bitcoin, that application needs to go out to some other service in order to receive those transactions. And that service at the very least will know that you have Bitcoin because you're connecting to it. And if somebody is packet sniffing and you're not using HTTPS, then it's possible for them to figure that out. So let's see. What other questions do we have? Will Bitcoin prices fall in November due to hard fork? I think I've said this before. I think chaos is good for Bitcoin at this point, and until I'm proven wrong, that's sort of the opinion that I'm going to take. I believe that Bitcoin is anti-fragile and that it will gain from disorder rather than fall. What is your opinion on? Yeah, nah, I'm not going to talk about altcoins. Do you have any idea when Bitcoin wallets like Mycelium, Airbits, Electrum, and Jax will update their wallets to allow users to select Segway addresses to receive? That's a great question. I certainly, if you as a user are demanding it and you tweet at these wallets and say, "Hey, when am I getting Segway?" I believe they will respond. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of competition in the wallet space. There's a lot of different wallets. For example, Trezor now uses Segway addresses as the default and calls all the other addresses that you might have on the Trezor as legacy. Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing certainly since the Segway transactions tend to have lower fees right now, I think I sent one for like 15 or 20 cents the other day, which is amazing, right? Like that's a very cheap transaction. You know, I'd imagine they'd want to incorporate that, especially. And by the way, there's like 4 flavors of Segway addresses. There's like pay to witness pub key, pay to witness script hash, and then there's like 2 wrappers with pay to script hash, pay to witness pub key, pay to script hash, pay to witness script hash. And 2 of them are called sort of native Segway, and the other ones are called sort of like you know, pay to script hash wrapped Segway. And the pay to script hash wrapped Segway addresses are sort of backwards compatible. All wallets consent to those, but the native ones are a little more difficult. All right, let's see. Jimmy, why do you make a face like you're paying your taxes when you answer our question? I'm sorry. I don't know. I guess I should have a smile on my face and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I guess when I think, I do this with yeah. So that tends to look like I am paying my taxes or something. Okay. All right. Let's see some other questions. Do you regularly watch any altcoins? Well, the only 2 or 3 that I watch are Monero, Zcash, and Decred. The others I don't really pay that much attention to. I mean, once in a while I'll look at Litecoin or something like that. And you know, at the top of CoinMarketCap is always like Ethereum and Bitcoin Cash. So I'll watch those a little bit just because they're there. Most of the other ones I don't really pay attention to. Have I ever mined before back in the old days? Yes, I used to have an Antminer S1 when they first came out. I think they were selling them at the Texas Bitcoin Conference in 2014. And I think it was, I can't remember how much it was, but it was like 1 Bitcoin or something like that. I bought it. I made about a Bitcoin after like many months, and then I just sold the thing. And yeah, it made too much noise. You know, I think at one point the power supply went out and all that other stuff. I was mining Litecoin at one point in a room in my house, and that room became so hot and it burned out basically the GPUs that I was using. So you know, that was the end of my Litecoin mining career. I haven't really mined ever since. All right, let's see here. What other questions? All right. Do you think with the Chinese government intervention with the ICOs, Chinese nationals in general? I don't know. That's something that you'd have to ask Chinese nationals. I am not a Chinese national, so I don't know. But I mean, it does look like the demand for cryptocurrency is fairly healthy. And the nice thing is, you know, it does gain from the network effect. The more people own it, the more other people want to own it because of the liquidity that other people wanting to own it provides. And it becomes a better and better store of value, and it causes an increase in price. So like ICOs and Bitcoin, I mean, they are related in the sense that they're sort of cryptocurrencies, but I don't think it will affect too much. I mean, unless there's like regulation or something like that. What is your favorite altcoin aside from Litecoin? I mean, like I said, the three that I pay attention to are Zcash, Monero, and Decred. They all have interesting tech behind them, and they're all very innovative. And for that reason, I pay attention. Should we all use Segway or legacy transactions? Doesn't matter. Does look like Segway transactions have lower fees. So if you want lower fees, I would suggest that going to Segway would be a good idea. Legacy transactions are also fairly cheap on the weekend. So if you want to sort of be able to take advantage of the Segway, low Segway fees going forward, what I would do is use like a weekend to send all your legacy, move all your coins from legacy addresses to Segway addresses, and then going forward, you will be able to, spend them very cheaply. But yeah, I mean, who knows how long that's going to last? I imagine at some point the prices on Segway transactions will go up. Yeah, but who knows when that is? All right, let's see here. How many BTC will be lost as folks kick the bucket? Yeah, that's a great question. And estate planning with Bitcoin is not a trivial problem because if you say like leave a copy of your private key with someone that you want to leave it to, just in case you die. Well, then you sort of have that risk. If you don't trust that person, well, hopefully you trust that person, but that person can betray you and take your Bitcoin with that private key. And then there's some other options like sort of sharding the key. There's something called Shamir secret sharing that allows you to shard a private key into N pieces and require M of them in order to unlock it. But then those M people can collude and take your Bitcoin. So yeah, I mean, there are solutions, but no one on the market's really come up with one, nor has there been a real demand for that sort of solution. People have thought of it, but it's possible that a lot of Bitcoins will be lost. I mean, hopefully you have somebody that you trust that you're sort of leaving it with, so that the Bitcoins don't get lost and all the wealth that you've accumulated goes to something good. All right, another question. All right, if Segway 2x happens, how development efforts and advancements from core team will be affected? I don't know if they would be affected too much. At this point, most of them sound like they are going to, oh, that's Haseo. Oh, hi, Haseo. He was in my class earlier today. Yeah, I don't think they will be affected necessarily. I think a lot of core developers are expecting it. It's possible a few of them quit, a few of them go away or do something else. And that would be a tragic loss. But for the most part, I think development efforts and advancements from core will continue. Why does WCN avoid talk about altcoins all the time? Bias or smart? Yeah, that's a great question. And I do want to answer that. Altcoins, yeah, I mean, to a large, you got to understand the history of altcoins, right? The first few altcoins that came out, they were like all pre-mined and were trying to make people wealthy. So in the history of Bitcoin and altcoins, a lot of altcoins sort of came off as scams. And for that reason, a lot of the old school Bitcoiners just sort of see altcoins as like copies or whatever. One of the reasons why Litecoin was so popular was because Charlie Lee made sure that the launch was fair, which is saying something, because all he did was make it fair and change a few variables, and it became really popular for that reason. All the other coins at the time were unfair, right? Like they gave like a tremendous reward to the creator or something like that. So in that sense, altcoins have that sort of reputation, and quite frankly, a lot of the coins afterwards were like that too. That said, I think there are altcoins that have some real innovation in them. Like Monero has confidential transactions. That's a real innovation. Zcash has, ZK Snarks and stuff like that. It's a real innovation. Decred has, governance voting. That's a real innovation. So I do talk about them sometimes, but not too much. For me, Bitcoin is where the frontier of innovation is happening. Most other altcoins, I mean, they try different things, and I give them credit for it. But I mean, to really learn an altcoin, you got to understand takes like a couple weeks of reading the white paper, really understanding what the hell's going on in it, what the innovation is, how it works, what the incentive structure is, and like why it works. And that's not easy. And usually when people make me read difficult things and write reports on them, I charge them money. And yeah, hey, if you want to pay me money, be my guest. I'll go read your white paper. But otherwise, I'm not going to go and read them and find out what every altcoin is about, because there are just too many of them, and the signal to noise ratio is not very high. So in general, I tend to shy away from analyzing altcoins for that reason. All right, let's see. Isn't there a problem with Bitcoin fees and processing time? Will that cause Litecoin to gain ground? I don't think so. I mean, I think the question is assuming sort of like medium of exchange as the main utility of Bitcoin. I just disagree. All right, which flavor do I like best? I don't know. I guess chocolate. I'm kind of at a loss to the context of that question. All right, let's see. Oh, I hate it when this this chat thing just changes. All right. Do you get the same advantages sending from a regular address to a Segway address as you do with a Segway address to a Segway address? That is no, because when you're spending from a regular address, the script sig field is still very large and contains all of the witness. You don't get any of the the benefits of Segway that way. If you're sending from a Segway address, it doesn't matter to what kind of address. It could be a Segway address or a regular address. You get a lot of the benefits because the witness part is sort of put at a different place, and that gives it a lot of that gives it some advantages. All right, what's another question here? If settlement has to happen on chain and cross-chain atomic swaps would allow more value between the two chains, would that put the respective fee markets in competition? Well, both chain on a cross-chain atomic swap, both chains will have to settle. Both Lightning channels will have to settle eventually. Could one channel settle more frequently and make that more possible? Probably, but I don't know if that would put the two coins in competition necessarily. All right, let's see. What do you think of PIVX? I haven't studied it. If you want to pay me to go study it, please do. What is going on with the South Korean market, pumping up BCH and some other currencies? Why are the price movements happening from there? Well, this is just a rumor and some thoughts that I've gotten from various people that I know over there. The general sentiment is that whenever a new coin comes on any of the exchanges in South Korea, there's a frenzy to buy them. And that's been the case with Bitcoin Cash, Monero, and some others, and Ripple too, I think. And those price movements are strictly correlated to sort of their introduction. And it tends to sort of taper off after that. And this used to happen a lot on a lot of exchanges. I remember BTCE would introduce a coin back in 2013, and that would cause the price of that coin to rise because there was more of a market for it. And that's generally tended to be true. People, it's generally seen as a good signal when a coin appears on the market. The South Korean market has just a tremendous amount of wealth, and that seems to be the driver of it. And it's kind of a, there's a culture of saving there, and there's a lot of people that want to make asymmetric bets. And cryptocurrencies right now are probably the hottest asymmetric bet that you can make. And that's kind of like human nature. A lot of people seem to want to do that. That's my theory anyway, as to why like the crappiest ICO seems to be able to raise like $5 million. So Yeah, the price movements are happening there because there's just a lot more volume and a lot more money involved over there. All right. Is it safe to send all your Bitcoins to one Segway address on the Trezor? I believe so. I'm pretty sure Trezor people would tell you that. But I mean, the bigger concern there would be privacy, because all your addresses are now linked. If you have like 13 inputs and one output, those 13 inputs are now linked to you. So yeah, I don't know if you want to do that, but if you're not too concerned about privacy, that's certainly an option, and you will save on fees probably. Is there any security risk to using Segway addresses since they have not been tried and tested as well as legacy addresses? I mean, to some degree, I guess that's true, but I mean, there's a huge bounty on Litecoin right now if you think there's some vulnerability. But you know, hey, everyone has a different risk tolerance. It's completely up to you. I would suggest you play with Segway addresses before, you know, you use them for everything. Going with that. Who knows how long anything will last? Now, that's not really a question. Why are prices lower on Segway? So it's a little bit more of an involved question, but there's an article I wrote on understanding Segway block size that explains sort of the weight calculation. And Segway transactions have a different weight that per byte is lower than a legacy transaction. So that makes them a little bit cheaper. I think for the most part, though, a lot of miners want to include them. And there aren't that many, and I'm guessing that's why. All right, let's see some other questions here. I don't care about that. Bulgogi or japchae for dinner? You can only pick one. Why is the market down again? Ask Tone Vase. I'm not him, but he does some really good analysis, and it looks like we hit a 9 earlier or something like that. Let's see here. Thank you, Stan Whitney, for your $2 super chat. Can I or anyone sell a home for Bitcoin? There have been in the past, so I don't see why not. Bitcoin tax. There was an excellent article in Coin Center about Bitcoin Cash and how to handle that from a tax perspective. So I suggest you go read that. Great article, and send it to your accountant, figure it out. Let's see here. Not a question. How do we get a Segway address? Your wallet has to be compatible with it. And according to a lot of the people here, it sounds like a lot of other wallets like Electrum don't support Segway addresses yet. It's a particular format, and you're going to need to, you know, Bec32, almost nothing supports that, but P2SH, P2 witness pub key, that you can probably do. All right, let's see. What other questions? What does it mean for mining if transactions are off-chain? Will it provide more or less mining centralization? Well, if transactions are off-chain, then the miner isn't involved in that transaction by definition. So that means that there will be less transactions on-chain, I suppose. Will it provide more or less mining centralization? I think those are orthogonal. You can have lots of completely decentralized mining with lots of off-chain transactions, or very few off-chain transactions, and have completely centralized mining and have lots of off-chain transactions, or very few off-chain transactions. I suppose it's possible miners can figure out, hey, these are settlements of off-chain transactions, therefore don't mine them, or something like that, but I doubt that's going to happen. How do you feel about Litecoin and Vercoin and Bitcoin atomic swapping between each other? I mean, it's possible now, so maybe put Shapeshift out of business. I have no idea. What did you do before you discovered Bitcoin? I've been a software developer for about 20 years. So I was developing software. I've done all sorts of stuff like tuning database queries to, you know, tweaking JavaScript and CSS. So it looks right on a web page. So just the whole gamut. Yeah. Let's see. All right. What do you think of Genesis mining and cloud mining in general? This is from Homeless Trader. Thank you for your $5 Canadian super chat. Genesis Mining. I don't think their cloud mining is in general a good idea. If you have the ability to mine at a profit and you are selling that right to somebody, something is probably wrong, or they're pricing it so that nobody, you're not going to make money, only they are. And there have been lots of cloud mining scams. I mean, if you know, it's possible that they're actually mining, but it's also possible that they could just pay you and say that they're mining. You know, they don't really have to share anything with you, so there's no way to prove it. So you're pretty much trusting them to give you whatever, and that tends to not be a great idea, to trust a single party with future money, especially if you're not going to make as much. Oftentimes, these cloud mining contracts end up being a interest-free loan at best. Oftentimes they are negative interest rate loans, which is horrible because you're losing money. All right, let's see here. What happens with lost Bitcoins? They stay lost. Do you not like other coins because you have so much invested in BTC? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess I can deeply reflect and figure that one out. I mean, obviously I do have a Bitcoin bias because I am in Bitcoin, and it is the first thing that I learned about. Am I not liking other coins as a result? Well, most coins I just don't care about. It's not like I hate them. Some of them are obviously scams, so I do hate them, and for good reason. I don't think it has anything to do with BTC. Most coins, I haven't read the white paper. I don't know much about them, and there's just a lot of effort that goes into understanding a coin. So it's for me not worth it because of the signal to noise ratio is just really low. All right, let's see. Do you think cryptos would do well in a recession? Man, that's a tough one. Depends. It depends. It's possible for it to go up. It's possible for it to go down. There are so many sort of, you know, it depends on what kind of recession and what caused it and how it came about. So I don't know if there's a real good answer to that. I'm not sure. And all right. All right. Do you know the latest on the release of Schnorr signatures? I think it would have to have a new version of the witness program. Right now, segregated witness has a witness program of 0.0. So I imagine it would be like version 0.1 would allow Schnorr signatures. If you don't know what Schnorr signatures are, it's less expensive to compute than your typical ECDSA signature. So we'll see. But I don't know the status on that or who's working on it. But it is a really cool technology, and it should make multi-sig signatures in particular a lot smaller. What's your opinion on whitelists versus ICOs? If a token is a security, does it bypass anything listing it in a private whitelisting sale? I'm seeing more whitelists now. I don't know what a whitelist is, so I'll go look into that and get back to you. Is Bcash vulnerable to transaction malleability? I guess to some degree it is. I think it still has the low S rule. So signatures have two elements, R and S. And one of the rules that they put in Bitcoin a while back is that the S value has to be low. Is Bcash vulnerable to so they're not vulnerable to that particular one. But it's possible to sign something multiple times and have 3 different transactions that are sort of competing. So yeah, it can be malleated. But so are normal Bitcoin transactions in the same way that normal Bitcoin transactions are. It's Segway transactions that can't be malleated because they have a transaction ID that doesn't depend on the signature. Jimmy, what's your view on Bcash popularity price within 2017? I don't know. I mean, it really depends on what happens going forward. I mean, I liken Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and Bitcoin Cash, like it or not, has an effect on Bitcoin because of the same hashing function and you know, the same miners largely and things like that. So they are inextricably linked. And Bitcoin is a highly nonlinear system. I think Bitcoin Cash is similar. So it's really hard to predict how one will affect the other and whether one will be more popular. Really depends on what happens. And a lot of these events that are coming in the next few months, you know, will determine the popularity of these things. You know, 2x hard fork throws another whole wrench in the works and things like that. All right, could ASIC Boost make BCH profitable? Yes. Did you buy your wife the kitchen yet? No, but we are looking into it, and you know, we're getting some quotes and stuff. I am very sad because apparently you lose your kitchen for like 3 months, which is like, oh man, I don't want to lose my kitchen, and you know, we might have to move out of the house or whatever. So yeah. Anyway, how do you feel about future blockchain product versus real working blockchain products like LTC and Dash? I don't know that much about Dash. And I'm not sure what you're talking about with future blockchain products. We already talked about Genesis mining. What do you think about Tone alleging the potential abduction of Satoshi at the hands of Craig W. Wright? Craig S. Wright, I guess, and holding him at gunpoint for his private keys. I guess it's possible. I don't know. With Satoshi, just don't believe anything until you see some signatures. Do you think there should be a reward to run a full node? I mean, I think David Harding pointed out to me in a tweet that there is a reward to the person running the full node in the sense that they don't have to trust anybody else. You are running your own full node, so therefore you can validate everything. If you're running a light client, you have to trust somebody else to give you some data. So yeah, that's sort of it's kind of like the, you know, being good is its own reward kind of thing. It would be nice though if you can pay full nodes to keep on the network, but how do you prove that you've been on the network, right? Those sort of questions become hard, and there's no real practical way anyone's figured out a way to do it. All right. Oh gosh, I hate how this chat scrolls badly and it like jumps every once in a while. Oh man, I missed a bunch of questions up here. I'm trying to get to them, I promise. Would you believe that the market will reach the hard fork in November similar to the one we had in August? I think that's likely. Jimmy, will you sing for us? No. Do you think, what do you think is the percentage of the world that owns some sort of cryptocurrency? Probably less than 1%. Jimmy, if Bitcoin gets the Lightning Network, will it have the same, some type of proof of stake act to it? I mean, I think Jameson, this is maybe referring to Jameson Lop's tweet about how you can sort of stake coins on Lightning Network. It's not exactly like staking. You have to have your private key online, and you do get like maybe a couple Satoshi every time you transact. I guess that could add up if there's a lot of it. So, I mean, in a sense, you're sort of staking coins. You're sort of lubricating the Lightning Network with some coins on it. But I mean, you have to open channels, and you know, that costs money because you know, that's a fee that you have to pay because it's on chain. So I don't know. The economics of that are sketchy until we find out like how utilized the Lightning Network is. But if it is utilized heavily, then it could be worth it. Is Bitcoin a commodity or a currency? Ask the government. I think it's a currency. Let's see. What about, yeah, no. Will one coin eventually come to dominate, or will there always be alts popping up? I don't think alts really ever die, but I do think that there will be sort of an 80-20 rule, and somebody will have 80% of the market share. Market cap is a terrible metric in my opinion. it counts all sorts of coins that were just sort of created out of thin air. Classic example is Ripple. So yeah, I don't know. Is Dandelion transaction only relayed by nodes that understand Dandelion transactions? I have no idea what you're talking about. Do you have any opinion on Bitcash and Kim.com? All right, this is Bitcash, CACHE. I haven't read too much about it, so I don't really have an opinion. Jimmy Song, are we about to see Altcoin season part 2? Yeah, I guess so. And in the sense that if these Bitcoin hard forks have any staying power, then there will definitely be a lot more. Is Mimblewimble the tech that will help BTC with fungibility privacy? Well, so if Mimblewimble happens, it'll be on a sidechain, and it'll probably need something like drive chains to make it happen. But if it does work, then I imagine fungibility and privacy would be greatly improved. Let's see. If the mempool is empty, why are Segway transaction fees still cheaper than legacy transaction fees? I'm guessing it's because wallets don't know how to price these things, something like that. It's hard to tell. I'm not really sure. Okay. Does the energy consumption of the Bitcoin network concern you at all? How would it scale as adoption increases? It does not concern me. It does not concern me. And I'll tell you why. The reason is because almost every other form of currency, pretty much everything else that's been tried, also has expended at least as much or more energy in keeping that system. So for example, fiat, US dollar, right? Like there's obviously printing costs and things like that, but there's also all these banks, right? Somebody has to build the banks, somebody has to build the bank vaults, somebody has to transport the money, right? Like somebody has to, code the computer systems that that keep the bank transactions up. The ACH system, the backups to the ACH system, the disaster recovery of the ACH system. I mean, there's so many computer systems involved in fiat currency that people don't know about that are involved in it. In transmission, and the electricity costs of all those things are enormous. Same thing for gold, right? Like you have to actually mine the thing, and it's a lot of work and money. It costs a lot of money in order to mine a lot of gold. And I think gold inflates at about 1.5% a year or something like that. And, it's a lot of money going into it. And that's just sort of part or parcel of it. And when you think about the fiat system, especially, there's like a whole industry of banks and investment bankers and things like that are just sort of rent seeking off the system. And most people don't count those as costs, but they are exactly costs, a lot like electricity is in Bitcoin. So I'm not concerned about it. I believe Bitcoin to be a much cheaper solution than almost everything else. And electricity, like the way Bitcoin works is that electricity is taken from the place where they least, want to use it, right? Like wherever it's super cheap. So in that way, it's very, very efficient, and I think that's a good thing. And besides, I don't like there will be a lot more SHA-256 miners, but as far as like order of magnitude increases and stuff like that, I don't think are going to happen because ASICs are pretty efficient already. Hey, Jimmy, you mentioned you're watching DCR, XMR, and ZEC. Why those coins? They're doing something innovative, and I've learned about them. There could be other coins that are doing that, and if I learned about it, maybe I would pay attention to them, but I don't have time. All right. What will happen if Satoshi sells one or more of his Bitcoins tomorrow? That would be news. What is the incentive to use Bcash instead of Bitcoin? Apparently, it's smaller fees. I wrote an article earlier this week about the fee market, and Bcash will eventually run into a fee market problem because people can spam their blockchain, and that cost has to be socialized over the entire Bcash blockchain. Do you think multi-crypto support on Ledger Wallet is secure enough? I haven't played with that, so I can't answer. If the mempool is empty, why are Segway transaction fees still cheaper than legacy transaction fees? Probably because, I answered this before, probably because the wallet algorithms just use bad fee estimation. When do you think the SEC will stop letting US, what's SITs? I don't know what that is. All right. If Bitcoin gets a Lightning Network, will it have some type of POS activity? We already answered that. Question is, I don't know what a DAG, well, yeah, okay, I'm not going to answer that one. Is Bitcoin Core 0.16 on target? Well, let's wait for 15 to release first, but I imagine so. Jimmy, if Bitcoin gets a Lightning Network, will it have some type of... All right, I answered that already. You've answered that. You keep asking. Hi, Jim. What's the best way to store BTH, ETH, Litecoins, etc.? I don't know what BTH is, and Ethereum and Litecoin. I mean, you'd have to ask those communities. I'm not your guy for that. What will happen? We already answered that. Oh gosh, there's so many questions. All right, let me start from the bottom now. Jimmy crashed the price. Did the price go down? 4,500, sure. When will more fiat start hyperinflating similar to previous national hyperinflated coins? That depends entirely on sort of nonlinear mechanics of economic forces, and I don't know the answer to that. And if anyone tells you they do, they are probably lying. It's been, what, 1.5 years or more since Lightning was announced. It is still not ready for mainnet. When will it be ready? And will it be as great as it is hoped? I mean, announcing something and building something are two different things. I hope you realize that. The Lightning Network devs are working hard at it. And, you know, it works pretty well on testnet apparently. So it may be released. You gotta understand, people are super careful with Bitcoin, because if you make a mistake, people lose money, and you know, you don't want people to lose money. So like, getting it right is more important than how long it takes. At what point in time do you see the mass adoption of this space? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, hopefully now. I mean, it's just going to keep going up, I think, as far as adoption is concerned. Is Bitcoin in sell-off right now? What is it, 4507? I mean, it looks like a normal, like, I've learned a lot from Tonebase, especially with regard to sort of reading charts and stuff like that. I think we saw 9 somewhere around 46, 49 on Bitstamp, and now we're sort of going, we're sort of treading water a little bit. I'm sure if we see a 9 on the bottom, it'll go back up, but something like that. Yeah, he knows a lot more about technical analysis than I do, so I'm not going to really comment too much on it. All right. What other? Should USA follow suit and ban ICO investing? Great question. I do tend to trend libertarian in this regard. I think people are responsible for their own investment decisions, and if people want to throw their money away, I think they have every right to do that. You know, I mean, it sickens me that could cause a lot of people to lose money, but sometimes the best way to learn is to, you know, is with pain, right? Like, once you touch a stove and you get burned by it, then you're not going to touch it again. So I don't know. Why don't we use checkpoints? Great question. We used to have checkpoints in Bitcoin, and they changed that, so we no longer have it. It's because they don't really provide that much value, because checkpoints sort of say, hey, here's what the block should be, and that's not how Bitcoin works, right? Like, it's based on whatever has the most proof of work. Let's see. Did you hear about Altcoin USD? I don't know what that is. Yeah, that's Bitcoin was advertised as centralized instant transactions, low fees, anonymous payments. None of that is true now. I don't think that's how it was advertised. I don't know where you got your advertisement, but I mean, when I first heard about it, the big thing that attracted me was a 21 million Bitcoin limit, right? That's what makes it sound money. There's a limit, and if you buy some now, it can't get inflated away. That to me was why I bought Bitcoin. I don't know about you. If you did it for instant transactions or something like that, you probably were doing Silk Road or something else like that. That's not why I bought it. And you know, if that was the advertisement you got, well, sorry, buddy, that's not that somebody sold you the wrong bill. I mean, it is kind of cool and sexy to show people, hey, here's, you know, I'm sending you money by scanning your QR code. But I mean, the more we watch Bitcoin, the more we realize medium exchange is kind of a weak use case. Store of value is the much stronger use case. And yeah, the biggest regrets almost everyone has about Bitcoin is either not buying enough or spending the Bitcoin that you have, right? And not replacing it, in which case, you know, it's the true spending of Bitcoin. And that really sucks, right? Because you take a look at the price today and take a look at the value that you got many years ago, and almost always you're not going to have gotten the value that you could have today. So, you know, and this is kind of what sound money does: is it encourages saving. It encourages you to keep holding onto the money, and that's kind of how Bitcoin was designed. And if that's not the thing that's appealing to you, then yeah, I'm sorry, then go somewhere else. There's lots of other coins that are apparently really good at transacting very fast. But for me, the store of value is the main feature and the reason why I'm in it. What year will Lightning Network go online? Probably this year. See who else is around. All right, so a lot of people asking the same question over and over again. I'm sorry I'm not getting to your questions quick enough. All right, let's take a look at some of the questions on the bottom here. Satoshi wanted to include a blockchain checkpoint with any new release. Why are we not doing it? I think it's kind of against the spirit of decentralization, because if you say you are including a checkpoint, then you're saying your client is the only one that should be on the network. And you know, there are many clients, and unless all of them do it at the same time, then it doesn't make sense. Why are merchants not accepting Bitcoin like they accept PayPal? Obvious reason is it's annoying to set up, and not that many people use Bitcoin to pay for things would be the honest answer. I mean, a lot of companies have at one point accepted Bitcoin, and then they realize they get like 5 transactions a day at pops, where they're getting like 10,000 a day on PayPal, and they're like, why the hell are we using Bitcoin again? Because like they have all this infrastructure that they made in order to do it, to accept Bitcoin, and you know, it's like, well, we're not getting the payoff, so why would we accept it? So they remove it. I think that's a reasonable thing. Again, medium of exchange, not as valuable, not nearly. All right, tune in drop off $5. Thank you. So Tone is speculating big blockers are trying to destroy Bitcoin. From a game theory perspective, how does this work to their favor? How does what work to their favor? That's kind of a hard question to answer. But all right, so suppose that big blockers are trying to destroy Bitcoin. What would I do? It's very difficult to destroy Bitcoin. The way that you could destroy Bitcoin is by making transactions like is reversing transactions or something like that. And I'm not seeing that behavior on the network, right? Like you're not seeing like 5 block reorgs or something like that. That would destroy a lot of the transaction value, and you don't know if you got it, and it would sort of cause all sorts of chaos. That would be probably the easiest way to destroy Bitcoin if you had some amount of hash power, is to do a giant reorg and, you know, sort of cause chaos that way. Yeah, from a game theory perspective, if they did do that on Bitcoin, then you're almost inviting sort of an attack on Bitcoin Cash, assuming that's the chain that they wanted. So yeah, I don't, it's sort of like a mutually assured destruction, and you're not really creating any value by doing it, and you're giving up a lot of mining reward in order to pull off an attack like that. So I don't think they are. The game theory says that they're probably, there's no incentive for them to pull off an attack like that. All right. Will merchants accept Bitcoin Cash? I think a couple are. I have no idea. It depends on how popular it is. But I imagine, you know, it's, like I said, I think it's strictly, I think it's worse than using your credit card. I think it's worse than yeah, credit card's much better in many ways. Let's see. What do you think of XRP and the big stuff? I don't care about it. What do you think about MateSafe? I don't care about it. Let's see. How is the price of ETH affected? Will the China ICO banning hamper its value? Good question. I mean, a lot of people sort of have bought Ethereum in order to invest in ICO, so it's possible that that could be affected, but hard to say. Hard to say. All right. Credit card numbers can be stolen. Yes, they can. Yes, they can. But you have credit card protection, so I mean, if it's the same price, it's always better to use a credit card because you have all sorts of protections as a consumer. If if you're using something like Purse or something and you're getting a nice discount, then it might make sense. Why so down on BCH? I don't know if I'd say I'm down on it. I'm not down on it. You mentioned the scarcity factor being a reason why you bought BTC. Doesn't the constant possibility of a hard fork affect this negatively? It's a good question. I guess the implication there is that when you hard fork, you're sort of doubling the number of coins, and I don't think that's true. When you hard fork and create a new coin, you're creating something else entirely. It's not Bitcoin. Bitcoin itself is constant, and besides, if you are hard forking, you own one coin of each, so you're good. Even if one turns out to be Bitcoin and the other not, or whatever, you're always going to be sort of protected in that way. And so I don't think it affects things negatively. All right, Gugu, thank you for your €10 donation. Is DAG more scalable and more energy efficient than a blockchain? Could BTC adopt the DAG tech? Could DAG coin beat BTC to mass adoption? All right, so you might be asking, what the hell is DAG? DAG is directed acyclical graph. And directed means that there's an arrow going from one point to another. And this is from graph theory. Acyclical means that you can't have circles. So it's just like a graph of like a bunch of pointers. You can sort of see it like a giant tree or something like that. With a computer science tree, like going outward. I don't know if it has to be all connected, so it might be multiple trees, or I guess what you would call in graph theory a forest. Could it be more energy efficient? I don't really know. I haven't studied DAG too much. I just know that there are coins that are using it. So I'm generally not going to look at altcoins unless someone pays me to do it. So it would be interesting to find out. I suppose it's always possible that something could beat BTC, but I've always said, like, you can't just be a little bit better than Bitcoin. You have to be an order of magnitude better than Bitcoin in order to beat it. And that's just sort of the way things are. There's already a lot of momentum on Bitcoin. So if you're an order of magnitude better, then you can win. And this is just sort of a general rule of thumb. You can read it in Peter Thiel's book, 0 to 1. You have to be like 10 times better in order to overtake something. That's just how markets work. People aren't comfortable trying something new. All right, let's see. Do you see a valuable difference between the medium of exchange and uncensorable medium of exchange, bearing in mind the darknet markets and Bitcoin's early days? It's a great question. Uncensorable medium of exchange and medium of exchange. Yeah, I do imagine that an uncensorable medium of exchange would be more valuable. And certainly in darknet markets and things like that tends to be an important property, and that's why I think Monero's captured something like 20% of the darknet market. But is that the main driver of price? I mean, it's definitely, medium of exchange has some. I just believe that most of the value comes from store value. And if, say, you had, let's just imagine for the sake of a thought experiment, that there were a coin that was like Monero but didn't have a cap. Okay, so it was it kept creating like 1 million coins every year or something like that. Would that be as valuable? I mean, somewhat, but I mean, people would buy it, use it, and people receiving it would immediately convert because it would be better to hold Bitcoin long term. So this is something that I think Daniel Krawietz wrote a while ago on why I think altcoins are snake oil or something like that, about how if an altcoin were useful, the natural tendency would be for people to buy the altcoin, use it for what its intended purpose is, and then get out. And that time frame for staying in the altcoin gets shorter and shorter as time goes on because Bitcoin becomes more and more valuable. All right, let's see. Wow, a lot of questions here. Don't mock me. When will Andreas Antonopoulos be on your show? I would love to get Andreas on the show. I've met him like a couple of times. I don't know him that well, but I do have a tremendous amount of respect for him. So, yeah, so that's going to be interesting. All right. Max Kaiser's, all right, third party chooses where, yeah, I mean, obviously if it's censorable, then that can be a problem. I don't think Bitcoin is really that censorable though. What do you want to add to BTC in addition to Lightning privacy and sidechain? Well, the big one I think is drive chains. I think I've made it clear in my blog post that I think that's a really good idea, especially if it can be done well. And Paul Sork has been working on it for a long time. And really, he's been working on drive chains because he has another project called Truthcoin that he really wants to get off the ground. But in order to do that, it needs drive chains, and that's like prediction markets done in a really, really interesting way. So that's something that I would like to see happen. Drive chains, Truthcoin, stuff like that. And I would love to see sort of side chains innovate. I think that is the place for innovation right now. Bitcoin is a little too, I mean, there are innovations going on in Bitcoin, but I guess there's a lot of other things that could be innovated that it can't do right now because it requires too many hard forks. So having side chains as sort of like a test lab for a lot of this stuff, or even just the actual market, would be amazing. I would like to see more of that. Wouldn't hoarding of BTC lower its value? On the contrary, that means that those Bitcoins are taken off the market and people will, there's less supply of Bitcoin, meaning more demand. So it causes the price to go up. Let's see here. Is IOTA 10 times better than Bitcoin? I don't know. I haven't studied IOTA. Somebody pay me to go study it, I'll go study it. But until then, I'm not going to look at it. Let's see. Jimmy, could people set up subscriptions with miners so that their small transactions are whitelisted by the relevant miner in exchange for the subscription price as a way to bundle the fees? Probably. I'm not sure how the miner would identify you, but certainly that's a possibility. It would require a miner with significant enough hash power, so they can go do that, and maybe that's like a way for them to have more steady stream of fees. But again, that's a possible business model for a miner if they want to use it. Yeah. Can you talk about the technical differences between Bitcoin protocol and the crypto node protocol employed by coins like Monero beyond the obvious privacy difference? Yeah, there's a lot of technical differences, and Monero is one of those coins that's truly different. It was created from scratch to be very, very different. And if you do look at the spec and if you look at the code, you can see it very clearly. So, for example, Bitcoin uses the SecP256K1 elliptic curve. The Monero uses the twisted Edwards curve at 255.19. Bitcoin uses the double SHA-256 function. Monero uses Kesak 256, I think twice. Monero uses some weird form of base 58 that's always like a constant length. So every address has the same length. Bitcoin has something else. Monero uses sort of one-time private keys. Bitcoin uses like one-time transaction outputs basically. There's a lot of differences, and until you really study it, it's not completely apparent. But a lot of it is honestly the confidential transaction piece, which which they adopted from Greg Maxwell's paper. And there's a lot of really interesting crypto in there. That's really, really cool. Range proofs, you know, Peterson commitments, things like that. All really interesting stuff that you can go in. All right. What about POS? Is it safe? I don't know. I don't think so. Does increasing BTC transaction speed lower the value by increasing its velocity? I mean, it increases velocity in the macro sense. I'm not sure how that would lower the value. I don't think so. No. Is that really Max Kaiser? I'm the real fake Max. It's great. What is the likeliness that a large country outright bans crypto? Probably pretty likely. I'm pretty sure it's illegal in North Korea. Gonna guess. I don't know. Let's see. Where is your next BTC conference? I will be in Paris on starting on Friday. I am speaking at 10 a.m. on Saturday. The talk, the title of the talk is "The Socialized Costs of Hard Forks," and that's yeah. I got to be honest. It feels like a little bit of pressure because I'm the first one going. Everybody else goes after me, and I feel like I'm gonna have to pump up the crowd a little bit and stuff like that. So. Wish me luck. You know, pray for me if you're of that persuasion. When will we mass adoption? It's a great question. It's not even grammatically correct. Let's see. All this FUD with BTC is making me even that much more bullish on Decred. Great project, huh? Yeah, I'd say it's a pretty good project. So Trump is our last chance to worry about anything? No, you'll always have something to worry about. Don't underestimate your own anxiety. Have you ever heard of disposable keys? What is that? I heard Peter Todd mention that term. I have not heard of it, so I'll have to go find out. How much do you charge to look at an altcoin? Let's see. Let's see. Depends on the number of pages in the white paper, and you know, obviously, whatever code there is. But yeah, I mean, I have consulting rates. Contact me, Jimmy at programmingblockchain.com. All right. Does BTC transaction speed increasing mean its value is lower due to increasing its velocity? You already answered that. What is the difference between side chains and drive chains? Drive chains are an implementation of side chains. So there are other side chains that are possible, federated side chains like Liquid from Blockstream. And that involves basically multi-sig addresses into the side chain and back out. What is LTC use utility if it went away tomorrow? Yeah, what would be the value? Right now, it's a great question. Ask Charlie Lee. Ask Charlie Lee would be my answer. Let's see. Oh man, there's so many questions. You guys don't stop, huh? All right. In regards to atomic swaps, when do you think it's going to be done? Well, once Lightning is done, that's I think it's just possible. I think the guy that made Zapwall, I can't remember his name for some reason. I think he tested it with Charlie Lee on Bitcoin to Litecoin, so it might already be done. It's just not commercial, or it's not really readily available on a lot of wallets. Zcoin versus Zcash versus Monero. What is your favorite private C coin and why? Definitely not Zcoin. They had a major bug that caused so that's not mine. Zcash. I mean, Zcash and Monero both have some weaknesses and some strengths. Zcash, to actually do the privacy transaction, it's pretty CPU intensive. Monero has sort of ever expanding UTXOs, so I don't know. I like both. I don't own either of them right now. I just watch them, and I like sort of seeing what they do. But I wouldn't say there's a favorite there. I'm just interested in it from an intellectual perspective. What are your thoughts on Protocol Labs and Filecoin? Haven't looked at it. Sorry. Again, you gotta pay me. If you were selling your home, would you accept Bitcoins, or do you think that's too risky? I'm not selling my home, but if I were, I would consider it. Will big blocks win eventually? Well, I mean, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Do you mean Bitcoin Cash, or will there be a new hard fork? I don't know. I mean, I think you need to clarify that question. Koda Kawahara. What year could Bitcoin theoretically have existed? That's a historical question. I'm not really. I don't think I know enough dates to be able to answer that question. Why do you say that Zcash is a scam? No, I said Zcoin is vulnerable, and they had a major bug. What would you recommend is a good way to begin learning about cryptocurrency from a dev perspective? Good books or online videos to start with? Yeah, here's a book. Okay, Mastering Bitcoin, second edition, Andreas Antonopoulos. You could also take my class if you know some Python. I have a seminar in LA in a few weeks, so you can sign up for that. You can go online. There's a lot of videos. Yeah, from a dev perspective, it's going to be a little bit harder, and it depends on what it is that you want to do. Do you want to do you want to contribute to Bitcoin Core? Do you want to make a wallet? Do you want to make a block explorer? Do you want to make an exchange? Do you want to, what is it that you want to do? I need to know that first before I can give you more better recommendations than, just sort of the generic ones. Let's see. What is the next one? I was somewhere. Wow, a lot of people asking the same. 500 viewers. Well, I guess we went down again. Tangle Technology. Again, I don't know this stuff, right? Like I need to read the white paper and stuff, and I'm not going to unless somebody pays me. Do you think we need more merchant adoption, or are we still in the store value stage? How long till medium of exchange phase? I don't think we need merchant adoption. And medium of exchange and unit of account, they're going to come much later, I think. And I think we are still in the store value stage. Maybe with Lightning that changes. I don't know. We already answered all. Oh man, I feel like same people asking the same questions. Could we agree that medium of exchange doesn't need to be fast or cheap, but it must be uncensorable, or BTC is not as useful? Yeah, I mean, if it's censorable, that implies that there's a central point of failure or a single point of failure where your transaction can die. In that case, then it's not really decentralized, not that useful. Do you think Bitcoin Cash will overtake BTC? No. Do you think the dilution of too many alts and ICOs is holding back BTC and useful, unique coins? Probably. I mean, there's probably some gems in there. I just don't care to go and look at them. Like I said, signal to noise is really, really, really low. Let's see. Don't we all secretly want Bcash to stay in the top 5 market cap? I mean, like I think I've said this before. Bitcoin Cash, as far as I'm concerned, is as close to Bitcoin as you can be and be an altcoin, right? Like compared to all these other altcoins. So, in that sense, it makes sense that it's in the top 5. Jimmy Song, what is best in life? A good night's sleep and something that you care about. All right. What happens if central banks start to print money or more honest value to compete with Bitcoin? I think you're asking, what if central banks start using sound money? I don't know. What do you think of XVG? Pay me. I think that's going to be my answer to anybody that keeps asking about random altcoins. Z Classic or Zencash? Pay me. How will governments raise tax if everyone is using crypto? They could still demand. I mean, governments enforce taxes with guns, so they can raise taxes if they want to. They're the ones with the guns. Will upcoming ETFs and derivatives on Bitcoin push the price down? Will the price be manipulated like gold is? Possible. I'm honestly not an expert in that area, or really have the slightest clue on how ETFs affect the underlying, assets price. I answered the Genesis mining question already. Stop asking me. Ripple and Stellar Lumen. Pay me. I know you've gone over it probably, but could you review your top 3 altcoin picks for the rest of September? I mean, the only 3 that I pay attention to, like I said, are Decred, Monero, and Zcash. That's it. I'll look at Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash and Ethereum because they're up at the top or whatever, but that's about it. I bring to market a mining chip that smokes current tech. The next step after a graphics card is FPGAs, and after that is ASICs. So it could make ASICs. I don't know if they have the capacity to do it, but yeah, I guess that's possible. Have you used any decentralized exchangers? No. Oh gosh. What is my ethnic makeup? If you haven't figured it out that I'm Korean, then yeah, I'm Korean. Will cryptocurrency be regulated in the next 2 years in the US? Probably to some degree it already is, so yes. What's going to happen to BTC mining after the last BTC? Again, it's on fees. What do you think about the shadiness around USD Tether? I haven't been paying attention and I don't have any, so I don't really care. How do you and the other guys at World Crypto Network all know each other? You guys are great. Well, thank you, Sean Stella. We know each other through the show. We're all in different parts of the country. Tone is in New York. I'm in Austin. And Thomas is in San Francisco. I think Vortex is in Las Vegas or something like that. So we're all in different parts of the country, and the thing that binds us together is Bitcoin. All right. Which coin do you think will be the first for transaction in shopping, like buying coffee, pizza, clothes, etc., etc.? I don't know. I don't use Bitcoin or any crypto to do any of those things, so I'm probably the wrong person to ask. Do you think further trading use of Bitcoin Cash will lower difficulty of BTC? It's possible, I guess. Depends where the miners go. Jimmy, why doesn't Bitcoin technology use compression in the blocks to save space? Could it use it in future to prevent the chain getting too large? That's wow, very good question, Fearless. I suppose the big thing about blocks is bandwidth and storage, and both could use compression technology for that. So I suppose it's possible. It's just that generally you're sending transactions which are in the range of like 200, 500 bytes, and compressing isn't going to net you that much. Although, like if you're sending blocks to somebody that's brand new to the network, you have to send them every block. Well, then compression might make some sense. Each block being a megabyte, you could probably compress it down fairly significantly, like I don't know, at least 20, 30%. So is that worthwhile? Maybe. It depends on how much of that is actually a problem versus not. And I'm not entirely sure. Let's see here. Will people be able to use atomic swaps to increase anonymity? Probably yes. Pivx, pay me. Nebulio, pay me. How long can transactions remain off the main chain for value? I don't understand the question. Why so? Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna ask about Tone, ask Tone. Why are you asking me? Are you a fan of StarCraft? Used to be. I quit video games a long time ago. You seem to be getting annoyed by the questions. Maybe take a break. I'm at Audi. Happy Bitcoining, y'all. Yeah, sorry. I like if I come off that way, it's not meant. I'm not mad at you. Whatever. It's just I like if you're gonna ask me about an ICO or whatever, you already know the answer. Just can you stop asking, or either that or pay me. If you pay me, I'll go look at it. Okay. Why do you think about the recent solar? What do you think about the recent solar flare? Danger to Bitcoin? Nah, I don't think so. I mean, you just need one thing to stay around. I don't know. I don't know that much about solar flare, so really I have no idea. Oh gosh, there's so many questions. What is going on with Bitcoin today? A lot price freezes and the fees seem to have gone through the roof. No idea what's going on. I've been teaching a class most of today on Bitcoin. So, how does Bitcoin Core staff get paid for their work? Great question. So a lot of developers are employed by Chaincode Labs. And they are paid by Chaincode Labs. Some are employed by Blockstream, and they are paid by Blockstream. Some are some work for the MIT Digital Currency Initiative, and they get paid by the MIT Digital Currency Initiative. There are many entities that contribute resources to core development, and they're the ones that pay the core developers. And some of them don't get paid at all, so there's that as well. All right. All right. I don't know Pivx. Okay. You're going to have to pay me. Bulbasaur, Squirtle, or Charmander. Oh, come on. Charmander. Every day. Let's see. What makes an ICO a security? Is it bad to be considered a security? Yeah, because you're under securities law. And there's a famous test. I forget what the name of the test is, but yeah, that's how you can figure it out. Let's see. If not in crypto, in what branch of CS would you want to work? Probably machine learning or something like that. That sounds really interesting. I know there's like back testing and things like that involved there. Machine learning is I wish I had more time to look into that. Will you invest in my scam? No. All right. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's about it. And it is like, wow, have I really been on air for, how long have I been on air? I can't, oh, wow. That's, I think I started at 8, right? So this is like an insanely long time. All right. Yeah, and it's already taking longer than a tone-based video. Yeah, well, if you guys keep asking questions, I can just kind of go like this all night, I guess. Let me just check Twitter, make sure I didn't miss anything there. Oh, 20 notifications in about 5 minutes. All right, are there parts of code in Monero or other coins that you would like Bitcoin to adopt? Oh, great question. I think confidential transactions are something worth trying. Not exactly Monero's implementation per se, but something like that would be great for a sidechain. I'd like to see a lot of this innovation that's in Monero and a lot of other coins be tried on sidechains. Will Bitcoin ever be easy enough for grandmas to use? I hope so. Hopefully you can help create it. All right. Yeah, let's see. Let's check the chat again. Question, what is your IDE text editor of choice? Emacs, baby. Emacs. Been on Emacs for like 20 years. I despise IDEs. I think all like command line and Emacs are enough for anybody. Sunny Lou, how old are you, Jimmy? If I guess, I would say 35. You are way too kind. So I'm older than that. Let's see here. Do you have any chance to talk to Big Fury to ask them to release miner that can compete with Bitmain? Well, I mean, Canaan.io has a miner that competes. I don't know if price per hash or whatever is better, but I mean, certainly there's a lot of them. Windows OS X Linux. I'm a Linux guy. I go with the generic Ubuntu stuff, and that works fine for me. Yeah, I like OS X too, and even Windows now has Bash on Windows, so I just use that, and it's Ubuntu on Windows. So you can basically have like the Linux command line everywhere, and you can use Emacs pretty much everywhere, and it works great. That's what I use. Let's see. Sublime. People are saying they like Sublime. I'm old school. I mean, I respect Vim. I did try to learn it once, but I never. I don't know. There was this website that taught you to learn Vim, and they had like a little video game where you can like move characters using like the Vim cursor movement and stuff like that. I really liked it. And I emailed the guys and I said, all right, you're asking for $20 in PayPal to like go through the rest of this course. I will gladly pay you in Bitcoin. And they said, we love Bitcoin, but we're not going to take it for this course. Kind of glad I didn't do that because that's Bitcoin that I continue to have. Yeah, don't learn to limit questions to a predetermined time. Yeah, maybe I should. Yeah, this is my first sort of Q&A, so yeah, I'm probably letting it go too long. I am going to sort of take off here. I do feel some comfort in sort of knowing that you guys are watching and asking questions or something like that. Something addicting about being on YouTube and having people ask you questions and like me being able to answer them and stuff like that. I do want to tell you all that all of you, thank you for having been here. I think I need a good sign off, so I need to have like a way to end the video, and I don't really have a good one. Any suggestions? Would love one. I'm sure people will be, huh? All right. Well, all right. You know what? I think that's a great way as any. Thank you, Bitcoin community. Bye-bye.